Welcome back to County Connection. I'm Jason Gray, and I'm here today with Officer Brittany Moreno from the Animal Shelter. And we're coming up into October, and I hear you guys are pretty full.
We are. It's been pretty steady since August. Biggest thing that we have is cats. We have a whole bunch of cats that come in. So most people think, oh, my cat goes off and wanders off. It'll be back in a couple days. So then they wait longer to come to the shelter and check. It's better if you just come in and check to see if your cat is there. We recommend that you don't call the shelter because how you might describe your cat is not how we see your cat through our training. It's always good to come down, look and see if your cat is actually there. If your cat isn't there, one of the biggest suggestions we give is to put their litter box outside. Cats can track their scent for up to 5 miles. And most of the time, if a cat is wandering, it'll smell its scent, it'll track it back and be able to come back home. Biggest thing we see is that as well, is that we do have cats that just roam around the city or are let outside. We do want to remind the community that City Ordinance, Chapter 4, Section 10, has to where animals cannot trespass on public and private property. Cats in the city are just like dogs. They have to remain on their own property. They cannot be wandering around, going into neighbors' yards and using their garden as a litter box. They can't be going and destroying, getting into boats and destroying anything inside of that. That is a citable offense, and if your cat repeatedly gets out, you could be subject to a citation. I have a neighbor who actually, her cat does like a leash. It goes out for walks every day. My cats don't like that so much, but I do use like a leash and harness just to let them go sit in the grass. But you can also build a catio. And a catio is basically an outside area for the cats that keep them contained, but it still allows them to go outside and have areas there. So we do want to remind the public of that. But we are getting a tremendous amount of cats in. We are limited on space and what we can take in. So those who do trap cats and stuff, we're very limited on what we can take in. We are also working with people who have especially in the county, a bunch of cats that first it was a year before they were dropped off, dumped by somebody, and now they're procreating and now there's a whole bunch of cats. We are working and we do want to teach people about the capture and release program. So capture and getting the animals fixed and vaccinated and then releasing them back out in the area so that you can still have those there to catch the mice, but you're not procreating, you're not extending the problem, you're actually stopping it and allowing the cats to do what they need to do. If you have any questions about the catch and release program, you can contact us at the animal shelter and we can give you more knowledge and information on that. Same thing with dogs. Please make sure that you're checking every day if your dog is missing, making sure that you're coming into the shelter. A lot of times we're having people come in several days after their dog has been there. Some dogs have actually been placed up for adoption or are preparing to have their vaccinations and stuff. Please be diligent on checking and make sure your dogs are at the shelter. One thing that we are seeing a lot of, and this is really sad, is that people are going on vacation or have to go out of town and they're trusting someone to watch their animal. Unfortunately, that animal gets loose, comes to the shelter, and the person that's watching their dogs doesn't report it to animal control, doesn't come in looking for it, doesn't do anything. And then when these owners come back, their dogs are already adopted because they've been with the shelter for over 2 weeks. So make sure that you're trusting people to do that. Also, what you can do for extra precaution is to come to the animal shelter and fill out a pet vacation form. So this will give us a description of your animal, the animal's vet, where it's going to be staying at, and you can also give us the name and number of the person that's watching it. So if we do get an animal in that matches that description, then we'll be able to call the babysitter and say, hey, is the dog still there? Is everything good? We got a dog in matching that. That just gives the owners extra protection because unfortunately we see that happen way too many times.
Yeah, oh, that would be awful. Coming back from vacation and I let your dog out. I don't know where it is now.
Yeah, and most of the time they don't even contact the owner when it's gone. They don't do anything. Luckily, we had a really sad case in December where someone had to actually leave to go deal with family business. And his dog got out. The dog was actually with us at the shelter for at least two weeks, maybe a little bit more. And we got the animal fixed, we got vaccinated, and it did end up being adopted. The next day, the owner came in looking for the dog.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and so it's kind of heartbreaking, but we do, like I said, when it's a legal adoption, we can't just say, oh, you have to give the animal back. But what we can do is we can call the adopter, we can explain the situation, and it's up to the adopter whether they wish to give the animal back or not. In this situation, the animal is going back to the owner, given the circumstances, but the adopters will be able to come back and look for be able to adopt another dog from us.
Oh, good. And it seems like, making sure that your pet's tags are up to date would be another good step.
Yes, absolutely. So we encourage everyone to put rescue tags on their animals, because if a citizen finds your dog first, they are going to call you first and try to get the animal back home to you. If they can't get a hold of you, they'll probably call us, and then we will also try to make contact with you. For instance, I had a dog that decided to walk into Marshall's clothing store. It did have a tag on with numbers, but the store could not reach the owner. So we came and got the dog, and we go through our MDT system, and I found out like who the owner is, where the dog lives. I did actually drive to the house and try to knock on the door, but there was no one there. So I did leave a notice to comply, letting the owner know that the dog was with us. I did also leave a voicemail on the phone number as well, and the dog was picked up the same day. If your animal has tags, if a citizen doesn't get the animal back to you first thing that we're gonna do as animal control officers is bring the animal home. That is what we wanna do. We don't want animals to come to the shelter. We want animals to go back home. And tags and city licenses are the best way to get your animal back home. We have had citizens call saying, hey, I found this dog and it has your number on it with a license number. And then we can also track the owner and everything through there. A good reminder as well is that all cats and dogs inside the city limits do have to have a city license. It is required every year. You bring in a copy of your rabies certificate to the animal shelter, and we issue you a city license. And it starts from the day that you purchase and expires a year to that day. Altered animals are only $3. Unaltered animals are still only $20. So it's a good thing to have, and make sure that you're within the ordinance.
Yeah, that's a good thing to remember. Is there anything else for October?
Well, we do want to say again, we have, as most people, as the citizens have seen in different areas, we have a bunch of skunks and wildlife coming into town. We had a very dry year, and as anyone can see from the fishing lake to McManaman Park, water has become less and less. Because of this, the wildlife are coming into the city in order to get water source, food source, and everything. And we've actually this summer captured a bunch of skunks there on Warren and 3rd Street, so they're even coming into the center of town. So with the skunks coming in, if you do see a skunk, or if a skunk sprays your dog, and for those I'm very sorry when it does that, we do have skunk traps at the animal shelter that we loan out. You can set the trap, and once you capture the skunk, you just give us a call, and then we will come and remove the skunk from that location. When you do get a skunk trap from the shelter and you do catch a skunk, even if you catch a skunk in a cat trap, the most important thing to remember about skunks is that they will only spray if they're in fear or they're agitated. So it's best to keep the skunk quiet. Don't be working on vehicles right next to it. If the best thing to do is to get, if you have an old towel that you've been using for rags, or an old blanket, place it over the trap to help the skunk calm down when we come on scene. When we do come, we do ask that people remain quiet, stay away from the skunk trap. We like to keep the skunk quiet and calm so that it doesn't spray, because we've all been sprayed. And the thing about skunk is that you don't have to be sprayed directly by the skunk and have it on you to smell. If a skunk sprays, that mist is going to attach to every porous thing that you wear, including your glasses, your watch, everything, and it just attaches to it. So you don't have to be sprayed directly. But this actually happens more to us and more to people when they're loud, when they're active, when they let their... I had a situation where an owner had 2 separate yards. Skunk trap was in one, but the dogs were outside barking and carrying on. And the skunk ended up spraying in the trap, and by the time I got there, it's still attached to me. So when we do come, we ask that you don't come directly up to us if we're working with the skunk. Please be patient. I usually tell the shush thing to people, like, because if I have a skunk that's calm, I don't want it riled up. And then we will come over and we will speak to you if you have any questions or concerns. We do have a lot of areas where they're in workplaces, and unfortunately we've come across a situation where when we show up, people decide that they're going to turn on vehicles or they need to go to this area to spray something. So please we ask for patience and consideration for us, as well as your workers. We don't want that smell attaching and going through there. So again, any questions about that or any questions about skunks, or if you're needing a trap, please contact the animal shelter and we will help you with that. Again, with October, we're going to see the increase in pronghorn and deer. We remind people on like the big roads, just make sure that you're paying attention for any wildlife that might be crossing the road. Just so, no one likes to hit them, and unfortunately it happens. But if you do happen to see one on the side of the road, you can call the animal shelter, let us know where it's at, and we can come pick it up if it's within city limits. With county regulations, there is no one to go and pick them up, so you would have to make choices on what you would want to do to remove it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And be safe, everybody.